Hi, I'm Nidhi Razdan and this is Hot Mic. Today we're talking about Mamata or Kejriwal. Who has it to take on Narendra Modi? Well, the assembly elections for 2022 are done and dusted, and the BJP emerged as the clear winner, along with Arvind Kejriwal's Aam Aadmi Party. Prime Minister Modi says that 2024, that's the general election, is a done deal. We don't quite know that yet, but what we do know is that it's going to be a tough fight for the opposition, which frankly has been all over the place. So clearly, the BJP is the leading contender. So, who will be the face of this disunited, disjointed opposition in 2024? Modi versus who? Well, is it going to be Mamata? Is it going to be KCR? Or is it going to be Kejriwal? Now, that question has got a bit more complicated after these elections, but Kejriwal has a bit of an edge over the others, and we are going to tell you why. Now, the BJP led NDA currently rules 17 states in India. That's about 49% of the country's population. If you look at key opposition parties and where they are in power, currently most of them are confined to their own states. So you have the Trinamool Congress in Bengal, you have the TRS in Telangana, you have the DMK in Tamil Nadu, and so on. You have the NCP also, for example, that is in power in Maharashtra. But there is actually only one regional party in the country that has now formed governments in two states, and that is the Aam Aadmi Party, which has governments now in Delhi and in Punjab. And that is why their victory in this election is so significant. Now, the Congress, which is technically still the main principal opposition party to the BJP in the country, is down to two chief ministers in Rajasthan and in Chhattisgarh. And that shows the party's stunning decline, simply because in 2014, when Mr. Modi first came to power, the Congress party was in power in 9 states. But today, in 2022, it is down to just 2 states. Wherever the Congress is declining, the Aam Aadmi Party is doing better. And the AAP is bettering its tally as it goes along. Apart from winning Punjab, it also significantly opened its account in another state, which is Goa. It only got 2 seats there, by the way, but it was contesting for the first time, and it got more than 6% of the vote share. And that's very significant. In fact, as I said, wherever you see the Congress in decline, which is the case in Goa, for example, or in Punjab, the AAP has stepped in. It happened in Delhi to begin with, where a large chunk of the Congress vote simply shifted en masse to the Aam Aadmi Party. Punjab was a similar story, but of course there it was a combination of the Congress and the Akali vote that went to the AAP, which completely swept the election. And here's the important part. This is the reason why Arvind Kejriwal is now eyeing the elections in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat. These 2 states are going to have assembly elections by the end of this year. And traditionally, in both these states, it has been a very straightforward BJP-Congress fight. In Gujarat, for example, the Congress party is already in trouble. It's not been in power there now for more than 25 years and has struggled to keep its cadre together. By the way, in the last assembly elections, the Congress did give the BJP a bit of a scare, but didn't quite make those numbers. Last year, however, the Aam Aadmi Party did make inroads in Gujarat for the first time in the civic elections, again at the cost of the Congress. They got 21% of the votes in Gandhinagar and 28% of the votes in Surat. So it may not have translated into a large number of seats, but they did open their account in terms of vote share, which is why Kejriwal fancies his chances this time. At the very least, he is hoping that his party, the AAP, emerges as the main opposition in Gujarat to the BJP, taking the place of the Congress. And there is another important target for AAP in this election, which is why every future state election actually becomes very important for them. That is that they want to get the status of a national party by the Election Commission of India. Why is that important? Because national parties get land or buildings from the Election Commission to set up their party offices. Their election symbols cannot be used by anyone else, and they can have many more star campaigners than other parties during electioneering. Now, star campaigners are important because the expenses on their campaign do not have to be borne by the candidate who asks them to come an election year. So otherwise, there is a limit that the Election Commission puts on the amount of money a candidate can spend. So if you have a star campaigner, the candidate doesn't spend on the campaigner. Instead, the political party to which the candidate belongs will bear that cost. So that's great for the candidate. But in order to become a national party, the Aam Aadmi Party would have to meet any one of the three conditions that are laid down by the Election Commission of India. Currently, they don't meet any of these conditions, but they're all important. One would be to win at least 11 Lok Sabha seats from three different states. So it would have to be three different states from where these 11 seats come from. The second would be to get at least 6% of the vote share in 4 states along with 4 Lok Sabha seats. And the third would be to be recognized as a state party in 4 or more states. And the criteria then becomes more complicated in terms of how much vote share and seats you have to win, but that's the basic criteria. And that's why, as I said, they need to keep chipping away in the next few elections so that they are able to attain this national party status. By the way, the Trinamool Congress now has national party status after winning West Bengal for a second time by a landslide. So what about the TMC then, you'll ask? Well, till a few months ago, Mamata Banerjee was being called the giant slayer after resoundingly defeating the BJP in Bengal. She had an ambitious expansion program right after that and also made no secret of her own national plans. But it kind of backfired. The TMC, for instance, scored a duck in the Tripura civic elections where they made a really big deal about the campaign and going all out just after Bengal. And they also suddenly decided to contest in Goa a few months ago. There too, they've got another big zero. In Manipur, the Trinamool Congress this time has lost the one seat they actually had in the state assembly. So those big plans that Mamata Banerjee had by opening up party offices and going all out in her national campaign, those have kind of hit a roadblock. Kejriwal, on the other hand, appears to have learned his lesson the hard way. After winning Delhi in 2013, he got so excited that the Aam Aadmi Party decided to contest more than 400 Lok Sabha seats. And he personally decided to contest against Narendra Modi in Varanasi. In the end, AAP ended up winning only 4 Lok Sabha seats, all from Punjab at the time. And no, he did not win Varanasi. So the AAP decided to dial back its ambitions and decided to focus on highlighting its governance model in Delhi, which has now become its key campaign plank. They decided to give Punjab a shot in 2017, and many opinion and exit polls predicted that they would win, but they didn't. And then they decided to build everything from scratch in the last 5 years. So now they've decided to take their battle state by state. Meanwhile, Kejriwal has adapted his politics to take on the BJP. Unlike his earlier avatar, he stopped attacking the Prime Minister and began mixing religion with politics very openly. So he visits temples, he does havans, he wears his Hinduness on his sleeve and doesn't speak up on controversies involving minorities. Mamata, on the other hand, is very vocal, she's outspoken and very feisty. A street fighter, she has given back to the BJP as good as she's got. Whereas Kejriwal has taken a more conciliatory tone with the centre as he tries to keep the focus on governance. So he's quieter amongst the two. Mamata's advantage is that she is vocal, which many would say an opposition leader should be, and that she's not afraid to take the fight to Narendra Modi. Kejriwal, on the other hand, also knows that he has a more realistic chance of being the challenger, the face of the opposition to the BJP in 2029. And therein lies the key. The 2024 general election may actually end up going the BJP's way at the rate things stand. So the opposition now needs to gear up for 2029. In the battle between Mamata and Kejriwal, at the moment, Kejriwal has the edge.